We got to break Sariba up. Sariba is a cartel.
We have to own our grid because we paid for it. You had it too long. That's number one. We need to control the purchasing of fuel because we pay for it. We should be in charge of buying it. The fuel companies, you better buckle up too. Jackson Point pipeline have to be reverted back to the ownership of the country. Oh, Mario, you can't tell them how to operate their business. Well, yes, we can. Having this idea that you're going to impose what's best because of what the law tell you can do will cause an uprising in this country that you've never seen before. My children are going to be saddled with the debt of a billionaire so that he can have his name printed on everything we got around here. Because, let me tell you something, this is Dart Island. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Word of Mouth. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of April. We're on the countdown to Jet Around, which is the Easter weekend, countdown to the biggest weekend of the year for Caymanians anyway. This is what we call camping season. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you all know that I'm wearing a green shirt today. My absent-mindedness. I put on a green shirt, not realizing we have a green screen. So if you see the iron shore and the water floating behind me, that's just my superhero ability kicking in. Anyway, it don't look too bad. It don't look as bad as I thought anyway, but yeah. One thing that I just want to touch on is that, I just want to make sure that we all understand that coming up on this long weekend, our weekend for most people starts tomorrow, Thursday, right back till Tuesday. So just worry about it to just be mindful of everything and just be careful because, it's going to be a long weekend and plenty of people going to be in and out of the roads. We're having the Jet Around race coming up on Monday. We're having a big party on Saturday at Seafarers Way in Georgetown. So it's going to be a pretty exciting weekend. So just want to tell everybody, just be as safe as possible. Enjoy your weekend. Eat some good food, some good Caymanian food, some turtle meat, some conch, lobster, fish, whatever you got. Just enjoy your weekend. One of the things that I was listening to on the drive-in on the radio came on. I actually called into the station talking about the sand on the beach, the work permit, the temporary work permit law or regulate, whatever it is that the government is repealing or they say. But Mr. Kenneth Bryan called in to try to clarify some of it. So apparently there's been some misinformation in the media again. I don't know, the Compass and all the other ones that printed the headline news saying government repeals temporary job advertisement motion. So, but we would have imagined that a lot of the small businesses in Cayman, all businesses in general would have called in and had some issues with that simply because a lot of them depend on temporary work permits and work permits in general. So I think what really happened is that they got a lot of pushback from them. So government typically looks political mileage. Well, my constituents said that they got business and it's affecting them. Oh, well, all of a sudden now we got to remove from collective responsibility to uncollective responsibility to go and try to repeal a law that they all collectively agreed on. So, I mean, according to Mr. Bryan, he said that Mr. Saunders didn't do it by himself. He said that they all did it together. So, I just find it a tad bit hypocritical for us to be putting a law in place when the minister was there and then shortly after the minister gone, you repeal it. It just looks fishy. Whether or not you're doing it for any other reason, but it just looks a bit fishy. Also, I want to also touch on the Regen project and the consortium down at the landfill. And the reason why, because Friday is a public holiday, it's Good Friday, so we won't be having a show, obviously, for obvious reasons. And Monday is also a holiday, so we won't have a show on that day, which is Easter Monday. So we'll be tuning back in on Tuesday. So I wanted to cover a host of things that we talked about in the last 2 weeks, just so that we can keep the awareness going. And one of the things that Mr. Saunders revealed on his exiting the PAC government is that, excuse me, some of the projects in which were on the table, which have been signed off by the PPM government and then subsequently adopted by the PAC government, and Mr. Saunders being the Minister of Finance and whatnot, he had a bird's eye view on the cost and the different things and the negotiations and you know what's taking place within that regen consortium or that Deco Dart consortium of the landfill solutions. Um, the reason why I mention that is because when we look at a project of this magnitude, of this size in particular, we know that in the beginning, when the contract was awarded to the DART group and to create a consortium to create the solutions that are needed for the landfill, no one will argue that we don't need a solution for the landfill and that we should have had one a long time ago. No, we all agree. We all agree on that. But we all also agree that it has to be value for money, the methodology have to be right, and it has to be the best possible technology and whatnot moving forward. That's the only way we're going to ensure that we have the best possible situation in regards to putting these solutions in place. Otherwise, we have to sit and rethink and reshape how we go about doing this thing. Now, in the initial stages, the consortium and the solutions would have been anywhere between 5 to 600 million dollars, which I still think is very high. Because there are other methodologies that could have been implemented within the landfill that could have reduced that cost. But because they weren't spearheaded by the people that were a part of the consortium, they wasn't even considered as an option. So we have to make sure that the landfill, if we all agree that it's an important component of our environment, we have to also agree that whatever we choose to do and we commit to is the best methodology possible, not to mention the costs and all these other things that come as a spin-off. So, moving from 500 to 600 million dollars, which included all three islands, to now inflate into 1.9 billion, possibly $2 billion, and it doesn't include the sister islands, then we have a problem. We have a huge problem. In fact, that's not even something that we need to even be talking about, other than the fact that, okay, well, we need to be retendering this document. We need to restructure how this is going to be done. We need to look at other methodologies in regards to cost and effectiveness within that landfill. I think that there is no secret that there's leaching. There's leaching from the bottom of that landfill. It was never properly lined in the beginning, so logically there will be leaching in various veins around in and out of that landfill area. Nobody can't argue to say that it's not, because there is leaching. There's leaching in the North Sound. There's leaching in water tables and all that. We have an open sewer system adjacent to the dump. Come on, man. So, do we need a solution to fix this? Yes, we need a solution. Do we need a solution that is effective, efficient, and cost effective? Absolutely. Do we need one that is environmentally friendly? Yes. Do we need an entity that has the capability to do it? Yes, we do. The problem is that we've seemingly somehow always just assumed that this is the situation, these are the people who are responsible or can be responsible or we can make responsible, whichever way. And because they have the financial capability to do it. And that's where we've gone wrong. Right? Now, if we take a closer look at this thing and we make sure that we do not do anything in haste, because then we'll understand the consequences of that later on. But it needs to be retendered, because if we have the right negotiating team at the table via government and the right squad of people who are analyzing this particular project and seeing that these issues are not being properly addressed. I mean, I know that when we look at the tipping fees and the processing fees and the waste fees and the garbage fees, and we look at all these things, we are far behind when it comes to having a proper solution and system in place in order to deal with it. Because one thing we know is that we got people collecting garbage and dumping it in the landfill, and the only fees that are being paid is for collection and dumping. But when it gets into the landfill, you need bulldozers and excavators and equipment and processing. So when they dump it at one spot, it got to be pushed off and spread and covered over. Who pays for that? The government. Well, the government now has a consortium who is responsible, which we pay. Now, why is it that the only fees that are being paid is by commercial buildings and businesses they're the only ones that are paying that are paying garbage fees, you know. Residents is exempt, rich or poor. So we need to fix that system. We need to make sure we have proper structure in place so that we get better value for money and it's cost effective. And when we're talking about doing a waste energy plant, whereas that may be a solution that is on the table and that could be a viable one, doesn't mean that it's the only one. There are other ways to handle waste. Compost, methane, do all of these things. There are different ways. Recycling programs can reduce the amount of garbage going into the landfill. But if we're going to be introducing a waste energy plant that requires thousands of tons of garbage per day, how is it that we're gonna motivate the public to or why would we motivate the public to recycle? Because understand what I'm saying. A recycling law will contradict the needs and requirement for a waste energy plant. It directly contradicts it. Some will argue, oh well, we can burn or we can recycle the plastics and aluminum. No, 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 no. That plant gonna need everything in sight to burn in order to generate the electricity to make it economically feasible for it to even implement, to sell energy back to the grid, for it to be cost effective. Because once this consortium put in this waste energy project or plant, it will be selling electricity to CUC, in which they will be collecting the entire amount until that ROI is recovered. So so make no mistake that if we don't intervene now and have our opportunity to have a say in this matter, then it will just get blown out of proportion. It will get signed off, and we'll be saddled with the debt. 1.9 billion, and that's just what it is now. From 500 million to 1.9 billion, and now it only covering one island because they couldn't sell the idea of bringing Cayman Brack and Little Cayman garbage to Cayman, because that's what they plan to do. Though that's part of the plan. So don't think for a second that that's not part of the plan. Where else will they get the garbage that's needed to run this waste to energy plant? Where would they get it from? I mean, yeah, the constant growth and development and population here in Cayman is generating more garbage. That's right. Right? So if we encouraging more waste just so that we can feed a waste energy plant, then I think that's counterproductive, in my personal opinion. Because now I get it. Now I know why the premier hasn't implemented a recycling law. This big environmentalist guy that claimed he's an environmentalist passed a conservation bill on his first try. But yet all of a sudden, you've been in there now 2.5 years. You was there as a minister prior to this in 2013 to 2017, and you haven't once mentioned implementing a recycling law. No, the recycling law will tamper with the volume of garbage that need to be burnt in this waste energy plant. Understand what I'm saying? If you're recycling cardboard, plastics, and aluminum, you're looking at a large percentage of waste that's going into that landfill that will no longer be available for that waste energy plant. That's right. So I guess the next thing we'll be doing is taking waste off the cruise ship just so we can burn it in order to fill the gap. The other day I talked about public consultation. I listed out 3 things that the government don't need to go to public consultation for, that they currently go into public consultation. Anti-bullying law, you don't need public consultation. That's a given. Everybody agree that we don't need people bullying people on any level past the damn law. Sexual harassment, anywhere, not just the workplace. We know that's not supposed to happen. That shouldn't happen. It happens, but we need a sexual harassment law, a firm one. We need to implement it. You don't need public consultation for that. Everybody agree. Sexual harassment should be outlawed. Number two, right? Why is it that we need to go to public consultation for things that are a given? You don't need the public's approval for something that is automatic. So we need public consultation for the landfill. You need to come out and tell us why it went from 500 million to 1.9 billion dollars, and you comfortable with that? Jennifer Ahern was brought back in exception of the PAC government. Brought her back in, removed Sabrina from that portfolio, took it from her. This Wayne Pannon took it from her, brought back Jennifer Ahern. You see the problem here? And now Chris gone, you got that finance, you got that portfolio. I'm just seeing a very suspicious set of maneuvering within the PAC government, and I'm not happy with it. I wonder if Jennifer Ahern, I wonder what conversation her and Wayne having now that John John is a minister again. Oh, they wouldn't dare put John John near the landfill ministry, which he was in charge of with the PPM government. So I got a question for the premier, Wayne Pannon. I got a question for you, sir. You brought back Jennifer because of what? Previous experience with the landfill project? I don't know. So then why you didn't appoint that minister to John John who previously had it? Since you doing these things out of principal experience, how come John John not got that ministry? Oh, let me tell you why John John not got that ministry, ladies and gentlemen. You know why John John wasn't considered for that ministry? Because John John was the one that fired Jennifer Ahern. John John was the one that removed Jennifer Ahern. John John was the one that smelled the rat and found the stash of cheese and got rid of Jennifer Ahern. John John was the one that got rid of her. So under no circumstances, John John would even get within a 50-mile radius of that portfolio. Why Wayne didn't just ask John John why they got rid of Jennifer before they even brought Jennifer back? That would have probably been the best thing to do. Or call his buddies, his ex-party members over at the PPM. I'm sure Joey, Roy, Alden, the whole host of them would have been happy to have a meeting with Wayne to say, hey, why you all got rid of Jennifer? Oh, you didn't have that conversation? Well, let's say it's not public knowledge that you had that conversation. And if you did, it surely didn't work. Jennifer Ahern don't even deserve to be in our government. She shouldn't be in there. She doesn't have the ability to do anything other than look out for herself. Every time the government get a shitty deal, we always find people who do a shitty job at negotiating. You think I'm shocked that this regen project is inflated to 1.9 billion? Jennifer Ahern is at the helm. No wonder. I don't want to know the problem. How you gonna get rid of how one government gonna get rid of the problem and the next government gonna bring back the problem and expect the problem to get better? Come on, man. Listen, people of the Cayman Islands, we have to sign a petition. We have to come out in numbers and we have to insist and demand that they put this project back out to tender and that Wayne Pannon remove Jennifer Ahern from the negotiations of this. I don't care what he think he know, because he don't know nothing. You know what's sad is that he had the people right around him that could have advised him. He had them right around him. They still round the place. He not called none of them yet. Why he didn't call Wallen Whitaker? That's who he should have called. Wallen Whitaker should have Jennifer's job, spearheading the negotiations and overseeing the mechanisms and the methodologies in and out of that landfill. The consortium should have never been able to win the bid and then choose what they thought the methodology should be and then hang the price tag around our neck. Because that's what they're doing. The Regen project, I don't care how many glossy ads and how many videos they got and how many politicians they pay and how many public consultation meetings they have. The Regen project does not financially or environmentally fit in the Cayman Islands model. It don't. We should have a massive recycling program. Dear God, can you all understand? We got 72,000 people. Anchorage, Alaska, when I went there back in 2014, way back in the, well, before that, 2011, when I went to Anchorage, Alaska, 90,000 people in population. That's still 20,000 more than what we got here now. Back then, we only had 50,000. Anchorage, Alaska is zero landfill. You know why? Because they recycles everything. The small amount of waste that they don't recycle, they put it in composting plants to generate methane that generates energy. I was staying in a landfill for 3 weeks and I didn't even know it was a landfill. That's how clean it was. My hotel was in the parameters on the compound of a landfill in the distance with these big warehouses where all the garbage trucks went in, processing centers. You know why? Because there's a recycling law in Anchorage, Alaska, that you got to sort your garbage. Each one of those big bays had a sorting facility. Aluminum, plastics, cardboards, and then all of the municipal waste went into another one that went into a compost plant. Those plants would then generate methane that they use the methane to generate energy. Zero garbage. But nobody. Now, if Anchorage, Alaska got 90,000 people can do it, how back then we had 50,000 people and didn't even have a clue? We got a mountain of garbage growing every day down at the Cayman Islands landfill. But you see, putting that in place didn't benefit those who were benefiting from the current situation. It didn't. And now we got people like Jennifer Ahorn sitting down negotiating with DART because they put a mandate in that no politician can negotiate, can't deal with nobody. So only her and her little small team of incompetent people can go and negotiate. There's no shock why this thing is at 1.9 billion. She's been at the helm now for 2 years. So in the last 2 years, it has inflated drastically, right under her watch. But yet somehow she's still in charge. And who we got to give thanks to? Wayne Panton. Because let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. He think that it's personal, but it's not personal. Mr. Panton, you just don't have no ability on how to run a country. You don't. You don't know anything about the landfill. You don't know anything about the environment. You don't. Because if you were a real environmentalist, you'd go pour cement down your septic, you go down in Newlands and put a processing plant in place. That's what you would do, but you didn't do that. Because you're not really an environmentalist. No, 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 no. You're a mascot. That's what you are. You're an environmentalist mascot. You're not a real player. The real players are on the field while the mascot parade around pretending to support the team when he ain't doing anything to contribute to the wins that the team get. So you just an environmental mascot. That's what you are. Parading around here like you all these things. You've been in government since 2013, got beat in 2017. Now you come back. Now you're the premier, and you haven't implemented a recycling law. You haven't implemented an anti-bullying law. You haven't put in a sexual harassment law. All these things you're talking about going to public consultation for. These are things that are a given. Just pass the laws, put them in place, and enforce them. Move on. And then you want us to believe that $1.9 billion is a feasible number for us to move forward with the DART organization, making their organization, that consortium, give all the work to a small circle of people. Because that's what's happening at the landfill, Go and look at all the people that working in that consortium. Go look at it. Go and look at the people who are working in the consortium, and then go and look and see who they're affiliated with within the DART organization. And then you'll find what you need to know. It's one-sided and we paying the bill. The fact of the matter that we gave them the consortium, they hiring their own people and we footing the bill. Because the money that DART spending now is government money, to line the dump and all that. That's government money. That's not theirs. I remember one time they were talking about DART would have fixed the dump for free. Now all of a sudden, we're giving them 1.9 billion. Are you kidding me? Waste to energy? We really need to bring in a waste to energy plant to mass burn garbage in 2023? That got to stop. We can't allow that. There's too many things at stake. Way too many things at stake. But one thing I will say is that typically when you see something that is painfully obvious that something is wrong, and it's not because you don't have any intimate information or knowledge of what's happening, it's just intuition in most cases. We drive across that landfill whenever you pass down that Hartwell bypass, and you take a look, no matter which direction you go in, and you have a bird's eye view on what actually happening there, right? We have a landfill site that is 100% out of control. We just dumping and pushing and spreading, dumping, pushing and spreading. No real infrastructure, no real plan on how we're going to deal with this other than this consortium that just now blew up from 500 million to 1.9 billion to $2 billion. But yet we still see them dumping and spreading. Ain't nothing else changing. They cap one side of the dump that facing Dart facility. Oh yeah, that's gonna be green and pretty. Then we got Dr. Shetty Hospital being built right on the corner of the roundabout, for God's sakes. Imagine that. Imagine that. We building we got a school and a hospital built next to a landfill that is not properly managed. Can you imagine? All right. So when you hear this conversation or the insinuation that, oh well, Dart is the best person to do it and he's the only person to do it, 'cause that's what we them saying, Oh, they're the best. What do you mean? Listen to me. It's in their best interest to do it. Because I guarantee you, without doubt, if the government was to do an independent study and take drilling companies and go and do drill wells in and around the CIS school, the Dr. Shetty Hospital, and all of that OLEA and all that development adjacent to the dump, even across the street on the opposite side, go and do some drills, go down and test the water content, test the soil content, and tell me what can come back on that. Nobody can tell me that it clean, because it's not clean. That dump leaching in every direction in and around that landfill, miles and miles out. So nobody can tell me no foolishness. And we're not putting in a proper system. If they wanted to put in a proper system at that landfill, you know what should have really taken place there? If it was in the best interest of the environment and the country and all this stuff, they should have dug a wall, they should have dug a trench around that entire dump, dug it deep down, put in steel work, pile it, and pour it below where the leaching going, contain it properly, remediate it for as much as you can, properly line it, cap it, put in methane wells to bleed and drain all the methane off, turn it into energy, and then put in a proper recycling facility so all garbage on this island is to be 100% recycled. But no, they don't want to do that because that's not feasible for the partners who are involved. It's not. You know how many people are going to make money off that waste energy plant? Not only the build out of it, the operation, the running, and the money they're getting from selling the current back to CUC. That waste energy plant in itself is going to be what is making the money. So go and find out who running that, which company from overseas is going to be involved with it, and who they tied to. Make sure you find all the subsidiary companies and all of the connection. All you got to do is set up a team of investigators. You'll find right where that money lead back to. That regen project need to be stopped. And I don't care how many people at the PPM who signed off and who thought it was a great idea because they bought into the glossy ads. I've had an opportunity to watch all of the seminars. I went to the Hartwell Theater. I went to the various roadshow locations. I watched what they were presenting. You think somebody who is being paid to do a presentation on a project is going to ever emphasize the cons. Oh, they're going to emphasize and overemphasize the pros. That's it. That's all you're going to go and see. Why in the world would I have a proposal to sell something to you and I'm going to show you all of the cons? No, I'm going to show you all the pros. You never hear about the cons. So I don't care how many people over there have issues with what I say or how I say it. The problem is that the regen project need to be stopped. We need to retender it and get a proper value for money, proper methodology system going into that landfill. We got tires. Government collect a disposal fee for tires. One of the people in the dump right now that processing all of the metal is the person who got the contract to move the tires. So why the tires still being there? I remember they cleaned, they removed the tires, they shred them up and dumped them up in South Sound to fill land, and they caught a fire. Ladies and gentlemen, are we got short-term memory or? The company that was awarded the contract to remove the tires is the same person that is moving the metal in the landfill, who shredded the tires with our shredder too, by the way, got paid, and then took the shredded tire, sold it to a developer up in South Sound where they dumped it to fill land, and it caught a fire. Yeah, it caught a fire. Put a quick stop to that. Imagine we paid somebody to remove the tire that didn't remove the tire from the island. You imagine? But these are the sort of things that are happening, and nobody is saying that. And that's in the DART consortium. That's in their consortium. The person that got the contract is a part of their consortium. You see, I don't talk foolishness here, and I don't talk things that are not factual, you know. But you gotta go look at the affiliation with the family members of the person who've been awarded these contracts. This is why nothing happens. This is why they haven't been held accountable. We want our money back. We want back our money for removing the tires because you never moving it. Then I see I'm putting out all these videos about segment. I'm saying to myself, are we living in North Korea? Are we living in a time in which we are we a communist country? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. The man can operate and no accountability. No accountability. And when we ask the question, we don't know nothing. Oh, well, what Mario Rankin know? What makes him an expert? Let me tell you what makes me an expert. Having way more experience than the person that is currently working in a landfill. See the person that working in a landfill moving metal? 1,000,000 times more experience than him. How many times he fallen behind? Why you think they had to have all those barges moving their unprocessed metal off this island? You all understand that the DART organization allowed for a subcontractor to barge out all of the unprocessed scrap metal over the period of the last 2 years on these barges, only to help the person who have been processing it and containerizing it and shipping it out, being paid by government, to help him look like he was doing his job. Remember that big fire? It was because the cars were leaking oil and gases all over the ground, combustible, and boom, caught a fire. But nobody didn't talk about that. Not one soul talked about that. No. No. But we got police on every corner giving you speeding tickets, giving you unregistration tickets, giving you tent tickets. Not saying that they shouldn't be doing that. I'm just simply saying, but these things go on a larger scale. Nothing happens. So, do we need to retender the landfill project? 1,000,000%. Are we the people going to sit down and accept them to charge us $2 billion while they extract all of our resources, sell it, and get an ROI while we foot the bill? Nah, we're not doing that. No, this is worse than the cruise berthing facility. This 10 times worse and cost more and more environmentally unfriendly. You all understand this, right? A waste energy plant is going to have a burn off. Oh, they'll put scrubbers and they'll get the ash and they'll tell you that the ash will be used to make asphalt and all kind of foolishness. They'll tell you that. Those are the pros that they talk about, but they ain't ever telling you about the cons. They're not telling you about the mass garbage that is needed to feed this thing in order to make it feasible. They're not telling you that. You imagine having a country that is giving you incentive to generate more waste so we can feed a waste to energy plant? Can you imagine? A proper study need to be done on how much material that goes in and out of the landfill that is recyclable. And then we need to put a recycling law in place to ensure that they are recycled so we can reduce the intake at the landfill. And then all of the other garbage that is not recyclable, we put it in a composting plant that generates methane, which gives us energy. And then the compost can then be mulched and used for fertilizer. It's done all over the world, except here, because there's too many self-serving political movements happening around here. Oh yeah, and the people suffer the political whiplash from it, and everything else negative that comes off of it. We the ones that get it. But then when we complain about eggs being $15 for 12 for 12 for six for a dozen or whatever it costs, $9 for a gallon of milk, $6 for a gallon of gas, 100% pass-through cost of fuel and lubricants to the utility company to just so we can turn our light and our ceiling fan on in the fridge. You imagine that? These people could be arguing over ministries when people can't even afford to feed their children, sleeping in their cars, begging for food. Come on, man. And then we supposed to be a first class what? First world what? Nah, we don't know first class society and we ain't no first world country. No. We got fourth world policies that has allowed industries and institutions to run roughshod over everybody in Cayman. Banks, insurance, all these things run roughshod over Cayman Islands and its people. Every one of them. Yeah. They made sure and got rid of Chris. Oh yeah. Mm-mm. Too many things were geared towards the small people and not enough towards the big people. Imagine that. I wonder if Cabinet gonna repeal that 20-story grant that they passed. Because I remember Chris was spearheading that. Chris was one of the key components in that. I wonder if they're gonna repeal that like they did the temporary work permit advertisement law. Why did they just go ahead and repeal everything that he tried to put in place? Go ahead. Because Cayman don't need no 20-story buildings. Mm-mm. Cayman don't need that. To what? To appease who? Who? The Caymanians that are here now can't afford to live in the developed country that we're in right now, much less. What are you all talking about? You think that there's a place for you and me? There's no place for you and me. I heard people call in the radio station this morning talking about, oh, well, this work permit, this temporary work permit policy that they had put in place that it gonna hurt businesses. What the hell am I hearing you? Hurting businesses? Nobody ever stopped to think about the workforce, the local workforce. Anybody stop to think about that? It gonna hurt small businesses. So I guess the small man who got hurt, that they don't matter. It's just the businesses that matter, right? They're the only thing that matter. Let's make sure we keep it conducive for them. Yeah. Let's bring in all the cheap labor in the world so we can make sure that they doing good. Because the small man who can't get a job, we not worried about him. Mm-mm. No. And to see the increase of robberies, I don't know, surprise. That's a thing of the norm now. They're robbing the very bus drivers, the taxis. You wait till the supermarkets now. Man gonna just roll in there with his shopping cart. He gonna fully shopping cart up. He gonna get to the counter and say, yo, here what happened? And I'm paying for this. They gonna call security and then they gonna be a confrontation. Watch and see. Watch and see when a man can't feed his children because we have a broken society, a broken system that the government ain't interested in. Desperate measures come from desperate times. Facts. Not to mention when all this multicultural nationalities come to Cayman and see how relaxed we are. You realize how relaxed we are? You think, no, they say to themselves, gee, I can't believe how relaxed these people are. We could rob them every day because the country where they come from. It happens. It happens in far more guarded situations than what we have. Those are the facts, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the facts. So, yeah, when you see the government repealing a law that they claim they collectively all agreed on, you have to ask the question, well, why are you second guessing it now? Why are you having to have another conversation? Oh, new evidence has come to light. What are you talking about? You mean all the businesses that are not going to benefit from cheap labor is complaining to the government? Yeah, that's what's happening. That's exactly what happened. But the thing that is a part of the problem can't be the thing that is going to be the solution. Man, Ronald Reagan said it in 1980, his first election. He said people come to the government with their problems. But what they don't know is that government is the problem. So how you gonna go to the people who are the problem complaining about the problem when they the problem? Truer words have never been spoken. Trust me. But how do we maneuver ourselves into a place where it's not gonna be the situation any longer? Listen, you know, a lot of people around here think that I have targeted certain groups or families or whatever the case is, but that's far from it. You got to remember the offspring of those who have taken advantage of the system from years and years and years and decades ago. Those are the ones that don't have to worry about what generations like me got to worry about. Because nobody never died and left Mario Rankin nothing. I can tell you that right now. I hustle hard. And one thing I'm working on right now, and it has to come to light, and it's important that we understand our history and our background. I didn't know this until of recent. That there's a list of families here that had ownership in slaves. It's been a very well guarded secret, but I've found the key. And soon as I get those names of the families that had slaves, I will be revealing all. Remember what I'm telling you this morning. I can get my hand on the list of families that are existing today that their ancestors were slave owners. Yeah, that's important. We need to know that part of our history too. We have to know that part of our history. So when they get up here and they push out their nose and their mouth and frown down upon you, they don't have the right to do that. And there are going to be some changes in this place, believe me when I tell you. So they can all sit up there and hide behind the walls of Parliament and say what they want, but they can't be held accountable in the halls of Parliament. But that's not going to always fly for you. $1.9 billion, ladies and gentlemen, is what the DART organization and that consortium is about to hang around the necks of every generation to come in the next 20, 30 years. We can't allow that. We have to fight hard to ensure that that don't take place. Because we can't sit down with our grandchildren or even our children and say, hey, Cayman is a good place because we fought for it. We're not be able to do it then. If we fought the cruise lines from putting in a cruise berthing facility that would have surely destroyed our environment and saddled us with a long-term debt, we can't afford to let it happen at the landfill either. We have to show the same sort of vigilance and make sure that we assert ourselves in a way that we are heard and felt. We need to make sure that the government rethink signing any final deal on this consortium without some sort of renegotiation or retendering this document. It has to be retendered. The DART organization have every right to retender if they want. But under the current conditions and situation that is out there, that is not acceptable. And I don't care how many members of government think that they know more than you or me or anybody surrounding it. They are not gonna sign that and saddle us with the debt and our future generation. No, we can't allow that to happen. And I won't. I will sit back quietly. That's for sure. No, 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 no. History will tell that I fought and I will fight until the day I die to make sure that we get the best of everything we possibly can. I can tell you that right now. So, as much as they may think that I talk in foolishness or we don't know what we're talking about, yeah. The problem is that we let them get away with doing things for way too long. Yeah. But we got to put a stop to that. Political mileage has no place in the sustainability moving forward in this country. It don't. Because political mileage has proven to be and the track record has proven that it is the greatest detriment to our society. I'm telling you, in our social development, because we've allowed politics take center stage and take priority over the things that really need to be done. And we can't allow that to happen anymore. Quite honestly, this morning when Kenneth Bryan called radio came on to try to justify this whole scenario about repealing this work permit thing, I was a bit disappointed because he should have probably just kept quiet and didn't say anything at all because nobody wasn't really focused on him. But now that he's come out and made this bold statement, I got my radars on him now. Collective responsibility, and we're not repealing it. We having another look at it due to new information that just came in. You mean due to the complaints from your constituency that got small businesses that this affect the most? That's what you really meant. And every other member that has that position, that's what they really meant. Last thing I talk about now before we sign off, well, two things, is the situation with the beach erosion and the $21 million that the government has allocated for sand for replenishment, and people not realizing the importance of putting the proper structure in place prior to putting the sand in, right? Because we got to look at the reason why the sand has washed away. That's number one. And for all of you tree huggers and global warmer believers, believe me when I tell you, it's not the rising tides that cause that. It's the seawalls that are put too close to the water that has prevented the natural flow of the sea surge and the sand to go in and out. That's what caused it. Okay? Because if it was rising tides or rising water levels, how come the rest of the beach ain't washed away yet? Because that's not what it is. What it is because we got too many buildings and seawalls close to the water in certain areas, and that's why it washed out. And I don't care what nobody may want to say or may want to think. They need to be removed. What are you gonna do? Pump sand back in the very spots where it's gonna wash out and then it wash out again? How much $21 million we got? So we can't keep pumping sand in areas where it's gonna be continue to be washed out off that sand chute. So please, Wayne, and I saw a picture where you had Jennifer Ahorn and Gina and them down there. I mean, come here, boy. I tell you what, we gotta be the biggest bunch of fools around this place. You hear what I tell you, man? But we gotta be really fool, right? You know, the thing is, you think that Wayne of all people would have some sense or some grip of the reality of what's really happening, right? All of those walls, Dartgar Cabana, that's almost in that not almost, that's in the water. Coral Beach, that all belong him. Royal Palm, that all belong him. Why he don't tear it down? Because that not gonna be a blimp in his radar. Tear it down. It need to be removed. Those walls and that cabana and that gazebo need to be removed. The Marriott pool and all that stuff need to be torn out. All those hotels and condominiums and houses along that corridor that water washing up against the wall, that's the indicator that you need to move. So all the government got to really do is go down there on a high tide, and anywhere that water hitting wall, get an orange marker, put a pin on it and say, put an X on it. That got to go. Take the $21 million, fight the legal battle. Because our planning department gave them permission to put it there. And if you go as far back to look at who on the board and who in the planning department at the time, you'll find out who gave them permission. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I got to sign off now. I have an 11 o'clock meeting. Just want to tell everybody to be safe for the Easter weekend. This is our last broadcast for the week until next week, till after Easter. Just be safe. You know, have fun, be safe. Please come out to the Seafarers Way on Saturday. We're going to be having a launch party for the Jet Around Cayman, which is a locally / international race. We got 3 international riders that are going to be participating this year. Last year we had 1. So that's a very, you know, encouraging thing to know that we've increased the volume of international riders and interest. And the truth is that, you know, these guys do this for a living, and a lot of our local guys are super talented and very competitive and can race with the best of them. And I'm happy that these international riders who are friends with some of our local guys that race abroad, you know, is willing to come down here and participate with us. And our local riders, for those who don't go abroad and race or don't have the opportunity, can ride here with the professional guys, you know. So Jet Around will be on Easter Monday. And I just want to say, I don't know how many of our people in our Jet Around community watches my show, but we have a riders meeting at 6:30 tonight at Vine and Tap for all the registered riders to come, and the safety procedures and all the stuff will be handed out, and those are the things that we're going over. I just want to thank Brevon Elliott for taking the initiative to put in place the safety measures and the marshalling of the race. You know, that is the most important element of this entire event, is the safety. And I'm happy to know that somebody that has the connections within the Coast Guard and police and fire station, him being a fireman himself, you know, and understand the safety procedures, especially when it comes to water. You can never be too safe. So I just want to give a big shout out to that group of guys and people who are going to be working and assisting and volunteering. And tonight is the riders meeting at Vine and Tap at 6:30. And then we'll have a follow-up meeting and inspection, you know, the day of the race. That morning we'll be inspecting to make sure everybody have all the safety things in place, the life vests and whatnot. So yeah, enjoy your weekend, be safe, come out to the party if you guys can. It's a free party. Georgetown Harbor on Seafarers Way. You know, it'll be a beautiful day down there. I looked at the forecast, and if it holds the way it is, it's supposed to be a beautiful weekend. Weather's supposed to be nice. So thank you all for watching, and don't forget to share our page. You can watch us on YouTube. For those people that don't have Facebook, tell your friends or whatever. Just go to YouTube, punch in word of mouth, and just click across so you see me, and then boom, you can click it and you can watch it live on your TV. Just like how you're watching Law and Order. You know what I mean? Big screen. So enjoy your weekend and be safe. Talk to you guys on Tuesday.
We got to break Sariba up. Sariba is a cartel.
We have to own our grid because we paid for it. You had it too long. That's number one. We need to control the purchasing of fuel because we pay for it. We should be in charge of buying it. The fuel companies, you better buckle up too. Jackson Point Pipeline have to be reverted back to the ownership of the country. Oh, Mario, you can't tell them how to operate their business. Well, yes, we can.
having this idea that you're going to impose what's best because of what the law tell you can do will cause an uprising in this country that you've never seen before. My children are going to be saddled with the debt of a billionaire so that he can have his name printed on everything we got around here, because let me tell you something, this is Dart Island.